What's up? How's everybody doing today? I'm gonna wait for some more people to join. It's crazy because it's like 40 degrees outside and people are acting like it's summer again. But we about to get hit with another big ass storm for Thursday and Friday over here in New York. I don't know about where you guys are at, but we getting blasted with snow. Blasted with snow. Hey, Gary. I'm not sure which Gary. Home. Make sure you hit that like button just for these luscious locks. My hair's getting friggin' long. Real long. Real long. Look at that. Look at that. My hair is getting super long. It's even longer in the back. I haven't cut it in a year. Big time. Yeah, for sure. I'm not cutting it. I don't care. I got past that awkward stage with my hair. Now I don't want to cut it. But it gets annoying sometimes, as you people with longer hair know out there. It starts to get annoying. But I'm excited. Hey, Emily, Raven, Gary. I'm excited to announce I'm gonna be, and I haven't done a big Zoom event on Patreon in a while. So I'm gonna be doing an amazing Zoom event on Patreon about remote viewings and some in-depth info about some of the things that I've been talking about in these videos. Way deeper, with diagrams and different things like that. So uh, definitely, if you guys aren't part of my Patreon, patreon.com/the mystical spiral, it's definitely going to be worth it. I'm going to be talking about different places that I've been remote viewing and things that I've been getting information about that I think is very pertinent to what's happening right now on our planet. And you guys can see that there's a shift of humanity taking place, right? And I do think it has to do with changing DNA and changing who we are. And I do feel that the Oumuamua, that what they call Oumuamua, I think it's labeled as a comet, right? I think they have it labeled as a comet. It's actually much more than what people realize, and I do think it's about activating harmonic frequencies and some sort of energy that has to do with DNA, and from when similar, I guess, similar races to us, or us in prior civilizations, prior worlds to this one, where we had 12 strands of DNA, right? I think it has to relate to that, and it has to do with shifting us back to a higher form, and changing. I do think it has to do. Not everything on this planet is evil, and the fact that we didn't even know about it until it was already past us is very. I think it's not just a blunder. It's very telling about what transpired. Right? We didn't even know till it already passed. It passed us for a couple of days, and I do feel it's related to changing who we are as a species. I totally feel that, and I think it was sent long ago from something that collapsed, another star system that collapsed. And it's interesting that we're having all these blackouts, right? We were having a lot of blackouts in the 1960s and the 1970s, and we have, in my opinion, stations outside of our our world, within different galaxies, within our own galaxy, you know, within our own planetary system. Just like we have the ISS, well, there's other huge space stations. And I do think the blackouts are related to space intelligences doing some sort of something with this planet, interaction with this planet, some sort of transmissions. You can even say, if you want to relate it to religious literature, you could say it's when an angelic intelligence interacts with this world, it causes blackouts in certain places, right? In certain zones that it's interfacing with. And this was happening even in 1960s, 1970s with the man I mentioned, Ted Owens. And Ted Owens died in 1987. It's called the PK Man, right? I talked about it, and I have two things to show you guys. If you want to go really in depth about who Ted Owens was, of course, the book to get is The PK Man by Dr. Mishlove, right? I think he's a PhD in psychology, Jeffrey Mishlove, if I'm not mistaken. And I've checked out some of his YouTube videos, some of his live chats as of recently, but I've known who he is, you know, for 15 years or so. You know, he's well known. If you do psychical research or research on ESP or telepathy, or you're gonna come across his name eventually, and he's well known in the field, right? So the PK Man is a book that talks about Ted Owens and some of the blackouts that he was claiming to be a part of, right? And he has a book that was republished by my buddy Tim Beckley. I've interviewed Tim Beckley several times on my shows. He's going to be coming on my show again. Tim's a longtime guy in the UFO field, ufology, and a publisher and a writer and an author. And he's had all sorts of different publishing companies that he's been a part of, like most recently like Conspiracy Journal and things like that. He republished one of the out-of-print books by Ted Owens called How to Contact Space Intelligence. How to Contact Space and People, about saucer and space intelligences. And this is the republished version of it. How to Contact Space People and Space and Saucer Intelligence by Ted Owens. It was put out in the 60s. And I've been on their show, Tim Schwartz and Tim Beckley. Tim Schwartz has also been on Ancient Aliens and many TV shows as well. Tim did the cover art on this, Tim Schwartz, and Tim Beckley published it. But this contains other added info, but it contains the book How to Contact Space People by Ted Owens. And he talks about the blackouts in the 1960s, 1970s. I think it was in the 1960s. This book was written in the mid-60s, so there was a lot of blackouts happening that he was saying had to do with space intelligences. And I do think that a lot of these are related to, if you want to say computers or galactic space stations or space intelligences, whatever you want to label them, there are other space stations throughout the world that can move through different galaxies as well. They're not just anchored there. And they can communicate with us on different frequencies, different harmonic frequencies. Yeah, you know, in the blackout of 1965, the Northeast, that's interesting that you said you were conceived during that. Hold on, let me check, because that specific one is talked about in here. Let me find it. You know what? Let me just go to here. Let me go to the friggin' contents. The Great Blackout. Page 81. So this was talking about November 10th, 1965. The effects of the blackout were monumental in New York. Yep, this was about, let me see in the chat room. Were you in, was it around November, Spirit Walker? Was it around November that you were conceived? Man, I have news related to India all the time on this channel, for sure. I definitely have a past life connection to India, for sure. Especially Benares, Varanasi. $11.5, yeah, you were born 11.5. 11.5 that year, yeah. This was when it was. This is the article about. The article was written 11/10/65, where they were talking about the blackout. So yeah, they only can communicate by telephone for hours. All newspapers were halted. Planes circling New York's airports were unable to get down, and the planes on the ground were unable to take off. Radio and radar communications apparently were blacked out. In many areas of the city, the flow of water was suddenly stopped because of the failure of electrically operated pumps. 26 million plunged into darkness as power fails affected 7 states. Says a massive electric power failure plunged New York City, Boston, and vast areas of the Northeast back into the days of candlelight on Tuesday, choking traffic and disrupting communications. The blackout, which extended into parts of Canada, was estimated to have hit cities, towns, and countrysides in which at least 26 million people live. It was by far the worst blackout that the nation has ever suffered. The power blackout over a huge area of the U.S. and Canada was the major story in newspapers around the world. The cause of the blackout remained a dark mystery. Several state and federal agencies, as the FBI and federal agencies, the Federal Power Commission included, all sought the reason for the paralyzing electrical failure. And then they have all these other articles that are associated with it as well. This one saying 30 million people in 8 highly developed American states are thrown into black confusion in the year 1965 when men orbit the Earth and their spacecraft explore the moon. So that's very interesting. They're talking about how we have such high technology, but we couldn't even figure out what was going on with our blackout. I do think it was related to some sort of. See, they're talking about right in here. And this was written in 1966. He's actually using the term SI, space intelligences. He's saying the space intelligences that Ted Owens was communicating with resulted in these blackouts. So, and Ted Owens was writing to scientists all over the world, and in this book includes the dated time that he wrote to scientists and different publishers saying that there was going to be a blackout, and then a blackout happened. So he wasn't just claiming that he participated in this. He predicted it. He predicted it beforehand. So that's friggin' amazing. That's friggin' amazing. And I had telepathic experiences with the information just reading it. So that I know he responds to the information. I know that there's some sort of truth connected to it or connected to it in some way. Right? And definitely worth checking out. Even if you guys don't buy any books out there, you guys can look up some of the information, right? Of course, this is a very hard book to get. Also about different space intelligences, the Council of Nine, Briefings of Deep Space, Stuart Holroyd. It's about the Nine, which I do feel is some sort of space station that is communicating with mankind. And I think that they come from a whole different galaxy, and they are literally changing this world as well. There's all different hands in it. If you want to call it angels, other dimensional intelligences, however you want to say it. But what's happening on this planet, even though we are an insignificant little speck in the grand scheme of things, it's all connected. If this planet is in turmoil, it's bringing the harmonic frequency of the whole system down. You realizing it's pulling it down. So you have many space intelligences that are parked right outside of our atmosphere and within range, interested in what's transpiring over here because of the way it's affecting the whole system of the universe, the harmonic system of the universe, right? The spheres, the crystalline spheres. It's affecting the whole friggin' system. The way we've been plunged into this physical reality of materialism, right? And desires. It has made a cosmic virus. We are in a cosmic virus, and it's actually around it has congealed and coagulated a hard shell, a veil around us. Okay, and there are direct intelligences that are outside of our atmosphere that are related to who we are and what's transpiring, and very interested in what's transpiring here. That's why nuclear war was pretty much stopped. All right. Yes, we lost. Yeah, we are. There will be a crystal gene, if you want to call it that, that will be added in the future. Right. And this is very interesting because I do think it's related to Oumuamua. I do think it was as a probe sent very long ago, and that it activated something. It had some sort of harmonic energies imprinted on it, and it brought something to us. Even though it's to come technically next that close to us. I mean, how many thousands of millions or miles away was it actually when it passed? But it doesn't matter. We're even sending like there's radio waves that and things and different like frequencies that come off things. And I do think when we were certain civilizations had different abilities and different DNA, including Atlantis and Lemuria. And Lemuria was highly connected to stones as well. And I think it was imprints of energy that was connected to Lemurian DNA. No longer have a tailbone. Apollo Harris. Well, stones, yeah. Also, if people are looking to do Ugaritic research, I don't know if I've shown this before. This is also, I don't know how hard it is to find, but I know these books are expensive. I obtained it through my research over the years and my connections over the years, but there's all different translations of Ugarit religious texts that have to do with the Rephaim and the giants and the Nephilim, fallen angels, gods, however you want to look at it all. I like to get different translations to see how they compare to each other. This is a pretty good one. Religious text from Ugarit by Nicholas Wyatt. There's all sorts of breakdowns of the. I mean, Zachariah Sitchin as well. This is not a novel. This is not a novel at all. So Zachariah Sitchin is more like a novel, right? Talking about this is the literal text where it has the English translation of the Ugaritic textbook. So it's there's no writings in here at all. There's no author's opinion really or anything like that. There's a brief introduction by the author, but all of this concludes in the Baal cycle of myths, fragments and shorter myths concerning Baal or Baal and Anath, the story of Akhat, and all these miscellaneous texts that have to do with all sorts of rituals and stories. So this is really in depth, and there even is Rephaim exorcisms and things like that in here. So really intense, really intense stuff in here. You know, of course, the story of Akhat, the story of King Karet. These are famous, known Ugaritic myths, and the Baal cycle of myths as well, talking about Anath, and shops and Mot, the brother of Baal, and all of this. So definitely worth getting this. I'm pretty sure it's expensive when you try to pick it up on like Amazon or somewhere like that. But if somebody's doing serious study, then they would definitely want to acquire and invest in these types of books. So yeah, this is called the religious texts from the Ugarit. From Ugarit. It's pretty thick too. I mean, it's like 500 pages. So definitely, guys, go to my Patreon. I'll be posting about it this afternoon, about when this week, it might even be later on tonight, but I'll be posting when this talk will be, because I'll be talking about Carnac and Callanish and different places, even Oumuamua, and I'll be talking about comets as well, Oumuamua. And for those that don't know, of course, people have known the Stonehenge Circle and stuff like that. Well, in Scotland, they have Callanish, which, in my opinion, is even more amazing than Stonehenge. I really do think so. And I did a remote viewing of Callanish that blew me away. It blew me away, and it was so real, the things I saw, that it just can't be made up. I mean, things like that they don't just come to you, and it's impossible, I think, that to make that up, right? And when they say that people were actually put in stone, there were actual giants put in stone, and they were like dismembered and wrapped and put there in like a sitting position, and they were wrapped. Sometimes their torsos put there, and they had this wrapping bandage around them all, and they were like dismembered and frozen in spot, and their faces were frozen in pain, some of them, and I can actually see their faces in some of the Callanish stones, in fact. Really intense, and you guys can go look it up on Google Earth, and if you're able to get a vision of I don't know what happened, but check this out. I went to go see if I could buy some salt because we're about to have a snowstorm, and of course they didn't have salt, but I found this for my daughter. Check that out. This thing was expensive too. This shit was $9 for this thing. It was worth it though. My daughter's gonna love it. But anyway, yeah, Callanish is definitely worth checking out if you guys have never heard of Callanish. In fact, what's very interesting, and I can't wait to do this on Patreon, because I heard a specific sound associated with these stones, and there's a certain sound that's associated with activating these stones. And I looked into the history and the myths associated with this place, and there's actually a lore that talks about a special bird call that's associated with this place. And so a being a being of light, or being of white, very white skin, right? So the Callanish stones, if I'm not mistaken, now you guys, I don't know if you guys could probably look it up, I think are the oldest stones on the face of the earth are in Callanish. So if you guys look at the title for this video, you'll see Callanish. That's it. It's Callanish. Giant standing stones in stone circles, and then there's a line of them, like a row of them. And it's as far as I know, they're the oldest stones on the earth, literally. And I do think that there's literally giants inside of them. And even I saw Carnac as well. And there's a myth that goes along with Carnac, that they're soldiers, rows of soldiers that are there. pagan soldiers that are there inside the stones. So that myth doesn't come from just nowhere, right? And when I look at it, I could see them just like torsos without their friggin' arms, all in stone. So we're gonna be talking about this on my Patreon and much more. And all new items up at the Mystical Spiral store. Don't miss out, everybody. Much love, and Spiral out.